5 reasons why you're going to marry the wrong person. Number 1, rushing into marriage due to external pressures. Now, this one I can't be too harsh on because I know a lot of religious families who is to be ideally to be married at a certain age. And then you have also friends who are also married and they feel like they need to rush. And they get into marriage for the wrong reasons. They ended up getting married to look good in front of their friends, or they end up getting married to look good in front of their families. And I had this one client who his parents thought he swung in the opposite direction, but they didn't know marriage just wasn't on the top of his list. But due to his parents' pressures, he ended up marrying someone he didn't truly love. And I know in the beginning of their marriages, they ended up going to counseling because they fell in love. Well, they got married for the wrong reasons. And I'm not 100% sure, but I think eventually they did break it off, but they are still legally married just because it looks good in the eyes of their families. Number 2, confusing infatuation with love. In the early stages of relationships, emotions can be intense and very high. You're still in the phase of actually getting to know each other, but because you're just head over heels for this person, you're blinded. You can't see 5, 10, 15 years into the future. And I have clients and I know people who've just got married straight away just based off emotions. It's how they feel. I just know it's right. I just know it's right. And that's fair enough. If you know something is right, by all means, go for it. I've done many things based off how I feel in that moment. And I've always learned from it. And what I have learned is that it's okay to go off emotions, but it's also just to use some reasoning behind that. Get to know the person a bit more. Get to know their goals, get to know their aims, their religious views. Get to know them deeper before you go ahead and seal the deal. Because there have been many times where you're just marrying just based off emotions, and 10 years down the line, or I mean, even a couple of years or a couple of months, the person who you married is not who they seem. When you live with them, they have habits, they have certain things which just tick you off. That's because you never truly got to know them. So just don't confuse infatuation with love, because many people have made the mistake and many people more are going to make the mistake. But just use some reasoning behind your decisions. Number 3, overlooking red flags. In the beginning of the relationships, there's something that bothers you, but you downplay it, you overlook it, you ignore it. You think it's not a big deal. But later on in the relationship or after the marriage, something that bothers you tiny will just steadily increase. It's just like you have a small debt for £100, but over the time there's a 7% interest increase. If you leave that over time, that £100 will accumulate to thousands. So don't let the small things, think about the small things and think about how it affects you in the long run. Because there's many times, and I've seen it for myself, where something that was small in the beginning of the relationship turned out to be a huge, major issue, and which in turn ended up ending the relationship. I know men who've got in a relationship with a female who had a very sketchy past, But when they got married, this is something that he overlooks in the beginning. But later down the line, it started to bother him. He had internal issues with himself and the choices that he made. It was there in the beginning. And he believed that he can overcome this. But he never thought it all the way through. And he ended up getting a divorce because it's not something that he could put up with any longer. He didn't want this type of woman to be the mother of his kids. So just look deeper into a red flag or something that bothers you in the beginning and just think, is this going to bother me 15, 20 years down the line? Is this a person I want raising my kids? Can I really, really be with this person for the rest of my life, knowing that there's an issue that bothers me, but only slightly? Because things do accumulate and they will end up ruining your relationship. Number 4, unresolved personal issues. Going into relationship with lack of self-awareness or insecurities or personal issues that you haven't dealt with will end up coming into the relationship. If you have insecurities about yourself, your partner may do something completely normal looking in from the outside, but to you, because you have unresolved issues within yourself, you make a huge deal. You get jealous very easy. You get angry. You get making the female suffocate. And it's not her fault. It's just issues that you need to resolve within yourself. Why do you think there's so many relationships going to counseling now? Why do you think the divorce rates are just through the roof and they're increasing? It's because we're going into these relationships with trauma. We need to make sure that we've healed within ourselves before being committed into a relationship. Just something to think about, actually. 5, incompatibility with values and life goals. This has ruined many relationships. And I've actually had a client recently who brought this up. When you're going into a relationship or marriage, agreement, commitment, covenant with your partner, make sure you discuss your values, you discuss your dreams, you discuss your morals, and make sure they are aligned with each other. Because, for example, I know someone who met their partner in the club, and I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with going to a club, but they met their partner in a club. She was intoxicated, both were intoxicated, both dancing, both mingling with the opposite sex. And then one person grows and the other person decides to sometimes go out with their friends to clubs, but you don't want that as a wife, someone who goes to the clubs on a weekend, drinks around undignifying music, undignifying people who are just mostly people who goes club are there to release a certain stress. And they found it to be an issue later on. But why didn't you have this discussion? This is common sense. Personally speaking, I haven't dated someone who goes to the clubs, and I don't believe I will. I mean, there's nothing against it. I'm not really a fan of the clubs because of the type of people that goes there. I mean, I visit them during university, but it was just a bit too, it's not my type of vibe, you know? I mean, I do have a drink when I go on holidays and I don't mind the odd party boat, but very respectable. But I would never actually marry someone who frequently goes to the club. That's just not my thing. It doesn't align with my values, but if you do and that's your type of thing, then that's absolutely fine. We do not have to agree. Our lives are completely different. We were raised different, so our minds are definitely going to be different. But make sure you just have this discussion first thing or early on in the relationships, because this is something that is going to dissuade the other person later down the line. Like, imagine you met this woman in the club, you married her a couple of years later, you've had a kid, but she still goes to the club. You're like, wait, what? Why are you still going to the club? Like, you're pregnant. Why do you listen to this low vibrating music? I mean, I want you to read to my kid. I want you to relax, listen to peaceful meditation music, read books, educate yourself on how to become a better mother. Like, nah, I want to go to the club. This is how I relax. But you can't blame that person because you never had the discussion. And then you end up getting married, you end up getting a divorce, and you end up raising a child in a single parent home, and it's just not their fault. So come on, we need to go to the basics. We need to have these open discussions. We need to really know who we're marrying, because this is a lifetime. I could never imagine getting a divorce. That is out of the question. We just have to really take accountability and responsibility and know who we are marrying. Who are we getting in a lifetime relationship with? Because we pick the person. It was our decision. So just make sure you know you've made the right decision. Thank you for watching. And did I miss anything out? Do you disagree? If you disagree, let me know in the comments. If you agree, let me know in the comments. I think it's a very interesting discussion, especially when the divorce rates are it's getting higher and higher. It's really sad because, especially when they have children, only the children suffers, and it is not fair. It's not fair at all. But thank you very much for watching. As always, please like, share, and comment. And let's build a better family and a better community.